Hello, what's up? It's your girl Joy back with another video, and in this video today I will be talking about my experience as a student in the Long Beach Polytechnic High School PACE Magnet program. If you're a parent or if you're a student looking to go into this program, the deadline for this application for you to choose is coming up. So in this video I would really like to give you some insight as to how my experience went and whether or not this might be the right fit for you. So if you don't know who I am, hi! I'm Joy and I make college beauty and lifestyle videos here on YouTube and occasionally commentary, so if that's something you're interested in, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. It stands for Program of Additional Curricular Experiences. It was founded in 1975, I believe, and it is the oldest specialized program in the Long Beach Unified District. PACE is like an honors program. It's highly selective, it's highly competitive for the amount of kids that get into the program. I believe each year they can only accept about 175 kids in the program. Then you do have to be have high standardized test scores. You do have to have high grades, and I'm pretty sure you had to write an essay too. It's like a college prep program. The classes are very rigorous and they're very challenging. I was actually in the program, so I know that this is true. According to the Long Beach Polytechnic High School website, a genuine love for learning and high motivation characterizes the typical PACE student. I want to talk a little bit about my experience with PACE. So I was actually rejected from PACE as an 8th grader. So in coming to Poly, I was placed in the Beach program, which is like the program for I want to say science and engineering and stuff like that, and math. But I'm not in any of those career fields. I literally hate math. Science has math in it, which makes me dislike it. And it's just it wasn't a fit for me. I didn't choose that program. It was my first choice for a small learning community in case I didn't get into the bigger programs. But I was rejected from all of the top programs at the different Long Beach schools, even though I was qualified for all of them. I got rejected from all of them, and so I got placed in a program that I really didn't want to be in. And I mean, it was honestly really hard, and I don't want to talk about too much about this because I do plan on doing a video about my my setbacks and my educational upbringing. How I got into PACE was that in the spring semester of my freshman year I reapplied and I got accepted. I was in the program ever since, and the thing is, if you don't get accepted as an 8th grader, I don't know if it's still the same now, but when I was at Poly, you could apply during your freshman year, and then if they had space available, it's all about space. Because if they don't have any space, even though if you're qualified, they can't accept you. And so they accepted me because apparently a kid dropped out or something. And it wasn't until the very last minute. I mean, it was the last week of my freshman year that I heard that I got accepted, and that was the last time I could ever apply to be in PACE because they don't accept sophomores, juniors, or seniors. I spent 3 years in the PACE program at Poly, and I wanted to be in it because I wanted to be challenged academically and I wanted to be prepared for college. PACE has a bunch of like-minded people when it comes to academics, and when I was in Beach, not that my peers in that program were bad or anything, or that they weren't dumb. People that aren't in PACE at Poly aren't dumb. It's just they don't choose to be in it, and not everyone can be in it either. And I mean, there's always a case that some people aren't smart enough to be in it because it is a very fast-paced moving program. The program moves really fast-paced, so a lot of people can't handle it. I don't even know if I could handle it very well. I just noticed that in Beach I stuck out like a sore thumb. I was not really being challenged. I had classmates disrupt my learning and make us learn slower, and I was just extremely bored. And when I came to high school, I had the expectation that things are going to be harder than middle school. I would have to do more homework, this and that, and there was none of that. I would finish my homework in class, I'd finish my homework during lunch, and I just wasn't satisfied. And I'm really concerned for my education, and I'm really concerned for me being prepared to go to college, because I was really interested in going to a top-notch university like UCLA or one of the Ivy Leagues, which I didn't end up going to, but that's another story. It's not that the teachers were bad in Beach, it was just that it's a different environment and a lot of kids don't take school as seriously, and so that really bothered me really greatly. I've taken a combination of 11 classes that are either honors, accelerated, or AP. Honors GPA was around 4.6, which is on a scale of A's being worth a 5 instead of a 4 on a 4-point scale. But this is not the exact number because I never ordered my final transcript, so this is just based off the first 7 semesters, not the 8 semesters of high school. But it's around the same thing. And then my regular GPA was about like 3.79. I did pass like 3 AP tests, AP Euro, AP US History, and an AP English Comm. My SAT scores and ACT scores weren't the best, especially as a PACE student compared to other PACE students, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Okay, let's talk about the atmosphere of the PACE classroom, the PACE program, about your peers. I'm gonna be honest with you, there's like 2 types of PACE students. There's the ones who don't have to do anything, they don't even have to study, they don't have to read a book, and they get ace the test. They get an A on everything. They're just smart, and I don't know how. And there's a lot of them that are just really good at everything. And there's the PACE students that are like me, who work around the clock, study 24/7, have like 3 mental breakdowns before a test, and have like 5 study sessions before the test, and still manage to get a D. Actually, they say there's 3 types of students. The third type of PACE student is the one who procrastinates and who is lazy. And usually these people are super smart, but they just get B's and C's because they don't really care. So that's the type of environment you have. But if you're going into this program, you have to understand that these are people who are extremely smart. Like, I've never known people that are smarter than the people I met in PACE. Like, and it's really hard at first to like come into atmosphere, especially if you are used to being like the smart one of the classroom, or the best at this, or the best writer, or the best at math. When you come into the PACE environment, for me at least, like I know I was at the bottom of the totem pole of like smart kids in PACE, because it just seemed like everyone was way smarter than me. But the good thing about that is it pushed me to work harder so that I could be smarter, and so I could be like as smart as them, even if I never come close to that. So that's what I love about the atmosphere, is that even though it's competitive and you can feel really insecure if you allow yourself to, it allows you to push yourself to work harder, to better yourself academically. These people are naturally intelligent. There's some people like me who we have to work hard for our intelligence, but that's okay. I mean, you can survive PACE if you work hard. So I wouldn't say that there's people are competitive with each other, but I do feel like there's an indirect competition between PACE kids of who's the smartest or this and that. Whenever there's a test, people always ask oh, what did you get on this, what did you get on that, and that normally doesn't happen in a regular class in my experience. So that kind of goes on. It's a smaller program. Normally it's about 175 kids per grade that are in PACE. So you'd probably be with 175 other freshmen who are in PACE if you get accepted. And it's easier to know people, especially since Poly is such a big school. You have the sense of community, the sense of people you can know, because most PACE kids know of each other even if they're not friends with each other, and you'll see the same people in your classes. Kids aren't really disruptive in class. It really does help cultivate the learning atmosphere, because a lot of PACE kids are nerds and they want to learn and they want to get stuff done and they are smart. Again, I'm not saying people who aren't PACE aren't smart. I'm not saying PACE kids are better, but I'm just saying this for your information if you're wondering about joining the program. What I like about PACE and Poly in general is that it's very diverse ethnically and culturally, so you do see people who are of different races. But I do think, I don't really have a stat for this, but I do think that there's more Asians and white people in PACE than any other race, but there is a diversity of different races. And also too, the PACE kids aren't just nerds. They're not just kids who get straight A's and don't do anything else. PACE kids literally do everything in the book. I couldn't believe it when I first joined. I was like, how are you in choir? How are you in sports? How are you volunteering? How do you have a job? How do you have an internship? And do PACE? How do you do that? I'm struggling when I'm running cross country, and I don't know how I can handle this. So PACE kids do everything. They are well-rounded kids, and there's a reason why a lot of PACE kids go to top-notch universities like Harvard, Stanford, UC Berkeley, and whatnot. Let's talk about the workload and difficulty. I really wish I had an estimate of how many hours I spent on schoolwork and studying, but I don't, because it's been a few years since I've been in PACE, so I don't. Well, it's been like 1 year, I guess. I kind of forgot. But I do want to say that PACE was not particularly easy for me. And that's for a variety of reasons. One of them being that I wasn't in the program as a freshman, so I had to play catch up, take freshman classes as a sophomore and whatnot. And also I had a lot of setbacks that I said I would mention in another video, so I don't want to mention it in here. Made PACE harder for me because PACE isn't hard for everybody. It is a lot of work for most people, but it isn't difficult for everyone. I think that's something you have to understand. So it was definitely for me, if you're planning on transitioning from different programs to PACE, it was definitely an academic shock from Beach to PACE. Like, I knew I could handle it because I work hard, but it definitely was a shock regardless of that. The thing that I noticed is that in PACE, I really didn't have a social life. And this is something that I didn't like, and I kind of regret now that I have like a really good social life, is that I put academics over everything. I put academics over my health. I put academics over my friendships, my social life, sometimes even God. Like, it was academics first. Like, I was not about to get a bad grade over anything else. Like, I was going to get those A's. And so, if you want a social life, I would really recommend you to do CIC. CIC is another good academic program, but it's not as taxing and rigorous as PACE. But if you really want that PACE experience and that PACE education, and you really want to challenge yourself and grow academically, and I don't know, be able to put that on your like resume or something for a top-notch university, then join PACE. But just be aware that you will have to sacrifice things, and one of them is usually your social life. Classes and PACE, the subject matter, even if it's the same class, like if let's say you're taking honors chemistry. Honors chemistry and PACE is harder than the regular honors, like a non-PACE honors chemistry class or a regular chemistry class at Poly. Because there's a different expectation that the teachers have of the students. So that's why it makes it harder than peers who are taking the same class as you that aren't in PACE. There's a lot of homework, there's a lot of busy work, and there is a lot of studying. You have to study so much because the tests are really difficult. And I mean, I appreciate it in the sense that like the teachers, they want to challenge you and they know you're PACE students, so they know that you can handle it, even though sometimes you can't, like me. And so they challenge you, and a lot of teachers in college especially and in high school just test you to see if you studied, just to test to see if you actually learned something, if you paid attention in class. But PACE teachers go above and beyond, and they test you on things to challenge you intellectually. So that's when it comes hard, because I was always constantly studying everything, not just stuff that like they were taught in class, but I was studying for everything, because it's like fair game. Anything was fair game. Anything could be on the test unless the teacher specified. So that's kind of how the dynamic is. So tests and quizzes and essays gave me a lot of stress in high school. Yeah, if you're academically driven, I definitely say join PACE. It's a place for you to be. I do want to say that it's not necessarily that the material that you learn is difficult or you can't handle, because when you're in PACE, they do teach you like pretty much like a grade up above when normally you would be taught at that grade or that age. But it's the amount of material that you're given at a certain time that makes it difficult. It makes it hard. It makes it stressful, because like, I mean, you could be reading like a book like within 2 weeks. And like that means you're dealing with 20, 30, like a bunch of chapters over like 1 or 2 nights to read as homework on top of your other classes. This program, like I said, is really fast paced, so there's no room for laziness. I mean, there are people that are lazy, but if you really want to get good grades, if you really want a 4.0, then you have to work for it. Like, it's not just going to be given to you. If you want to be lazy, don't join PACE. Just join a regular class, you will do fine. Or just join a regular program, you'll do fine. You won't have to work that hard. But in PACE, like, girl, you're gonna die if you don't work. Like, on the 4.0 thing, you probably won't get all A's. I didn't get all A's. I got majority of A's, but I've gotten a C, and I had a breakdown over it. If your grade point average matters really much to you, then don't join PACE, because you will constantly be stressed about, like, maintaining it as a 4.0. So a lot of us PACE kids don't have 4.0s by the time graduation rolls around. We get close to it. There are people that do get 4.0s, and junior year is probably the worst year ever. that's still to this day like the #1 year that I like struggle the most in like every single area of my life, especially academically. And I'm not the only one. People that I've talked to, whether they go to poly or whether they're in PACE or not, have said that like junior year is the worst. It just really is. But PACE makes junior year way worse. It's really difficult. But I got through it. I don't know how I got through it. I thought I was gonna like die or something. I really wanted to die during that year. But you know what? I stuck it through and I made it, so you can too. Senior year is really easy if you don't choose a lot of AP classes. Like I only took like 2 AP classes. There's some people that take 4 or 5 AP classes, but generally the PACE like program has a certain curriculum, and like you're supposed to take certain classes that PACE chooses for you, besides like your electives. But the senior year is like where you have the most flexibility to choose your schedule. I don't really want to sugarcoat what PACE is, because they're upfront about it that it's rigorous, and it really is, and it's challenging. But it doesn't mean that you can't get through it with good grades. It doesn't mean that you can't learn something from it, and it doesn't mean that you will fail. It doesn't mean that you will die from doing it either. You can definitely be successful, but it takes work. And it's just a matter if you really want it or not. So I'm going to talk about opportunities. So PACE students do have like a certain level, I don't want to say privilege, but they do have opportunities that other programs don't normally get. Every program at Poly is different, but like for example, I mean like this is not really like a privilege, but this is kind of like what PACE kids do, like as freshmen. I don't know if they still do this now, but like C-SPAN projects or Project Echo, where you get into like doing these cool projects as a freshman. You can also apply for like the PACE scholarships as like a senior in high school. I actually am a recipient of one of the PACE scholarships, so that's like an opportunity specifically to PACE students, and it's funded by the PACE Parent Support Group. Also, like seniors get to go to the zoo, only PACE kids get to go. So there might be others, but I don't really remember. So I told you guys PACE is a college prep program. So my next point is, how has it impacted like college? How has it impacted my college experience? So I want to say like almost every kid that I know that went through PACE that is now in college has said, and we've all talked about it, that like PACE is harder than college. I'm speaking on behalf of going to CSU, but I can't speak on behalf of people who go to Ivy Leagues or CSUs, because it could be different. But as far as I know, people like always say that going through PACE makes college easy. And growing up, I always would think college is so hard, I couldn't do it, this and that. And I do have to work hard, so it's not like I'm lazy in college, but I don't have to work to the same degree to get good grades as I did in PACE. But I still have a social life, and I'm way busier now than I ever was in PACE, if that makes sense. So when you've spent 4 years, or 3 years if you're like me, in a PACE program that's so rigorous, and you get out of it, you realize how beautiful life is, and you realize how much easier life is. I'm not saying life is easy, but you know, just academically, it's not as hard. Now, if you're a STEM major, that might be a little bit different, but generally, that's how it is. Because professors in college, they're not like trying to trick you. They just want to know that you paid attention in class, that you showed up, and that's how they test. A lot of professors don't give you busy work. There is very few projects that you're given, especially group projects, and you get a lot of those projects in PACE in high school in general. So it's a lot of self-studying, and if you're good with that, like if you learned how to study in PACE and you carry that to college, you'll be fine. Like you won't have to worry about college, trust me. Also, a good thing too is that, you know, college, the reason why the PACE program prepares you for college is because college does move faster than typical high school classes. But in my opinion, I feel like PACE moved faster, like 5 times faster than any of my college classes. Like I find myself bored sometimes because I'm like, we already learned this, can we change the subject? Like I'm bored, like I already like did all the homework and stuff. Like for me, I already read all of the reading for September. Like that's how fast I can do. I couldn't do that in PACE. Like the PACE, there was just too much work, too much studying, and I couldn't prepare in advance enough to be prepared for everything. In college, it's not like that. I literally could do like 2 months of work in like a week. just how college is. I don't want to make college seem like it's easy, because it's definitely, even though it's less work, you do have to work harder to maintain good grades. Because let's say you have 4 tests in a semester, and those 4 tests are the only grades you have in the grade book. That means you have to ace all those tests if you want to A. I have like a more balanced life. Like I exercise, I go to school, I have a boyfriend, I go to church, I have work, I have a social life, I do YouTube. I couldn't do any of these things in PACE. So definitely when you go out of that, it's like being free from like prison. And like PACE isn't like prison, like it's not bad, but it's just like you're like, oh my gosh, like I can do this now. So I feel like that sense of like the shackles being broken, it just feels so great because you feel so accomplished. You're like, wow, I did that. Overall thoughts. I really hope you guys aren't taking this as a negative just because I'm saying the program is rigorous and challenging, because it is, and so that's the truth. I don't want to lie to you. But I don't want to make that seem like as a negative either. Like just because it's challenging and rigorous does not mean the program is bad. Like the faculty, the staff is really great, and you meet really nice people. Like I have friends from PACE that I love and stuff. Really, really thankful to have the opportunity to be in PACE, because not everyone gets the opportunity. And I also almost didn't get the chance, and my life would be very different if I didn't go through PACE. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I personally would not go back in time and change that just because it was hard for me. The reason why, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for PACE. I feel like even though I started off being academically driven and like being a hard worker, it made me more academically driven and more hardworking, and I really appreciate that about PACE. Pushed me to limits I did not know I had. However, with that said, I would not choose to be in a program like PACE again. I think I can go through that once and be done with it, just because now I realize that I have other priorities in life. Because in high school, I was all about challenging myself, learning new things. Like, I hate math, but I would be like, let's take the hardest math class so I can challenge myself, so I can be better at that, so I can be best at math or something like that. Now looking back at it, I'm like, nah, I take one math class and that's it. Like, I don't want to challenge myself or waste my efforts or energy into things that I really don't enjoy and things that stress me out. Now I'm more focused on doing the things and spending my time in things I'm interested in, like YouTube, for example, or writing articles for the Daily 49er. So my efforts are spent otherwise elsewhere besides just school. Really great program, and I love that it's not something you have to pay for either. So it's not impossible, guys. It really isn't. But you have to know your limits. So if you're someone that's like me who stresses out a lot, I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'm just saying be aware and accept the sacrifices and the consequences that you will have to make when you're in that program, when you're in the atmosphere, because you will have to work hard. So there's nothing wrong with that, though. That builds character, so that's a really great thing. And if you need encouragement, just talk to Mr. Globally. Mr. Globally is like the best, let me tell you. If you need recommendation letters, talk to him. He's the A-push teacher. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really wish you guys luck on like applying, and like if you really want to get PACE, I hope you get in, because God knows. Oh my God. God knows, and my parents do. I was a mess when I got that rejection letter. I was like, I'm not going to high school, like no one likes me, like I'm just so dumb. Like, you guys just, yeah, work hard. And if you're younger and you think about going to PACE later on, get your grades up, work hard, because you're gonna get rejected like I did. I mean, I got rejected because there was like this mishap with my test scores. They weren't high enough. I didn't have all my test scores because I had moved states from like Texas, California, whatnot. But you can't change the past. So I just want to give you guys that little tidbit about my experiences. If you have any questions about PACE in general or about poly, then just comment them below, and feel free to ask me anything. Like, feel free to DM me and be like, hey, from your YouTube channel, I'd really like to ask you about this, about PACE, whatnot. So, love you guys. Thank you. Bye!